I know this looks like a white Russian, right? Yes, it's just milk, though. My doctor told me today that I needed to drink like a half a gallon of milk a week, and the thought that went through my head was, but milk is what helps get a cow really big. The calf turns really big by drinking the milk. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I've got to change a few things after visiting with my doctor today. So welcome to the show. This is Cassandra Williamson, and I am coming to you from a holler way up in eastern Kentucky in Pike County, and it is as far away from Alaska as can possibly be, just about. So I know that Trump and Putin are meeting right now as we speak, and I hope it's a successful meeting. I hope we can get to a ceasefire. I hope that's possible. It baffles me or surprises me, really, that it took this long for Trump to begin to understand that Putin cannot be trusted ever, period. When he opens his mouth, close your ears because you can't believe anything the man says. He always has a plan in mind. This is the thing about Putin. He always has an end game in mind, and it doesn't matter to him how many people are sent to the front line to die to accomplish his goal. It doesn't matter to him. He is a Soviet-era KGB agent as president of Russia. And his goal, I mean, just like in the Soviet era during World War II, they lost more than 10 million people, some of whom were soldiers. In World War II, they just threw this mass of people in that direction and said, you know, we got to win. We got to protect our way of life. So if it costs 10 million people, we're just going to do it. That's what it's going to have to take. Putin thinks the same way. He doesn't care how many men, women are lost on the front lines fighting for what he wants. He wants Ukraine. He's always wanted Ukraine. He's never thought of Ukraine as being an independent country. Never. He's always thought of it as being part of Russia. And there's some historical things that could go on like that. If you go back 700 years, you might find something. But he's always wanted Ukraine. He wants to restore those satellite states. So whatever Putin and Trump are talking about in Alaska right now, I do think that Trump has had his eyes opened that you can't trust Putin as far as you can throw him. And I told my brother this just earlier this evening while we were eating supper, and I said, maybe what we ought to be doing is Trump should be keeping Putin there and saying, nope, we're not going to let you fly out of here. You're going to stay right here in Alaska until we settle this thing. Keep him on the army base. Force him to make a concession to end this thing so he can go back home. You're going to have to impose something really harsh on Putin to make sure that it works, because he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about how much it destroys his economy. He's there because the potential of shutting off the oil flow to India is a problem, is up in the air right now. And, you know, he does need that resource coming in. He does need that money coming in, but he does have help from China and North Korea and Iran. So he's got all of those resources there to help him. So he doesn't really care about anything in that country. This is his business. That's what it is. It's his multinational business. And the people, it's very hierarchical. It's very like this. Every decision goes through him. Whereas in the past, there used to be some kind of, you know, layers in between the Politburo and stuff like that, where different decisions had to be made, or at least appear to be made. Those aren't there now. This is entirely on Vlad Putin. And I'm sure that by now Trump has figured all of that out, and he's been told that. We've had a lot of people trying to tell him that for a number of years now. You can't play with Putin on a level playing field. He just does not care about his people. He only has one goal in mind, and he goes for that with everything he's got in him. And who said something down there? I saw something in private chat just pop up at the bottom. Yeah. Alligator Alcatraz for Putin if he does not negotiate. As much as I hate Alligator Alcatraz, hey, that'd be a good place. But just keep him there in Alaska on that military base right there, on that Army or the Air Force base, and just keep him right there. You know, don't let him leave. Don't put him under house arrest or anything. Just say, hey, you can't leave until we solve this. And then make sure their plane can't leave the ground. Fly some more of those B-2s and F-22s in formation over the airport. And, yeah, they won't be able to leave. But anyway, that would probably spark a major conflict. Russia would launch missiles and all kinds of stuff and try to take their territory back. You know, Alaska was part of Russia. We bought it for like, what, $7 million? Phew, we stole that. But anyway, so I really do hope they're able to come to some kind of consensus. But the problem is, and this is the challenge, this is the difficulty this faces for Trump. He's excluded Zelensky. Now, I know he has reasons for doing that. And I know they've worked out some kind of something or other to make all that work out. But Zelensky should never have been excluded in this. Europe should never have been excluded in these conversations. Flatten the tires. And make sure there are no mechanics and tire changers on site. So that's what my friend up in Michigan says. So, just flatten the tires of that jet, for Putin's jet, all right, so that he can't leave until he resolve all of this. That's what I think, really. It's going to take some kind of fortitude or some kind of strength beyond just, you can't talk to him about so many deaths. That only works in the West. That only works for us and other Western democracies and places like that. And, they don't like seeing death, particularly of their own people. So they try to do everything they can to prevent that. Putin does not care one bit about the life of his people that he's throwing out there. Now he's finally figured out how to get some more people on the front line without bringing in people from Iran and North Korea and China and places like that. He's starting to kind of give them some money to sign up, and if they get killed, their families get money. That's a twist. But if you take away all the money, that $200,000 or so won't be worth squat. You might be able to buy a loaf of bread with it. But that's the pressure that we have to put on, is just the ultimate pressure, because this guy is not going to yield for any other reason. And here's the other part of that too. And even if he does concede something on this, a ceasefire of some kind, you've got to watch everything he does. Everything he does. He's looked for ways to get around it. He's going to turn whatever words are in that deal for ceasefire, he's going to turn it inside out and try to define the word is. We've seen that before in our own country. Zelensky, oh no. Watch out. He is going to get you. Oh my God. So anyway, that's what I think they ought to be doing. They ought to really put the pressure on. Just put an inordinate pressure on to stop this war in Ukraine. I'm going to say it again too. Ukraine has every right to defend its territory. It has no reasonable reason to give territory to Russia. They've already taken Crimea. No, that's a sovereign nation. They have every right to defend themselves, to fight for their nation. And as I heard in another report today, the strongest military in Europe right now, the second strongest really, you know what it is? The second strongest military in Europe is Ukraine. They've got the best people. They're experienced. They're innovative. They adapt to situations on the field. Mechanically, or at least physically, Turkey has more equipment than them, but Ukraine is actually showing us you don't need all that stuff to actually have a successful war to stop someone from entering your country. So, yeah, we've got a long way to, yeah, we've got a lot to learn from Ukraine. They're the ones who taught us we needed to be moving forward with more of the drones, the small deployable drones that could just fly in in swarms and take care of stuff. Yeah, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to do it. Shoot, you could use your mom's paper airplane and throw something across into Russia. Whatever it takes, put a rubber band on it and put a little grenade on the bottom. They are being innovative there. They know what the heck they're talking about. Been practicing lately. Yeah, they have. They sure have been practicing lately. Anyway, so that's what's going on up in Alaska right now, and I think it's still going on. I'm not sure. I don't have the TV turned on so I can watch everything above me. Let me see if I can find something over here in my news channel. They're always late with the news over here, though. The news. Oh, well, anyway, beside the point. So that's just one of the big topics today, and it's likely to go on for a little while. I know that there are some interviews that have to take place. Let me get my microphone a little closer. Maybe I'll come in a little more clearly. There we go. So that's the big thing right now is we need to get Putin to agree to a ceasefire, and then unconditional kind, no conditions on it, just stop shooting at each other. Then we can take the next step. That is what needs to happen. Just stop shooting right now. Stop advancing. Stop sending drones, Ukraine and Russia, into each other's territory. Stop. But we know how strongly enforced the word stop is. That hasn't worked in the past. Just stop. Don't. That didn't work either. That didn't stop. Don't. Okay. Yep, that had a lot of force behind it. But anyway, yeah, I'm making fun of the previous president because he's the one who said, don't. Anyway, then we have Gaza and all of that stuff going on in the Middle East. There's a lot of stuff going on around the world. Then you got stuff going on over in Taiwan and the South China Sea and all of this stuff happening around the world. The least little thing, a least little match could set off a world conflict. Wouldn't take a whole heck of a lot. And I think that match might be if Trump decided to keep Putin in Alaska. That would probably start it. Oh, my gosh. So what's happening in the rest of the world? Well, same stuff. We have more things. If you read my newsletter that I sent out this morning, I hope you did. If you did not, you can go onto the website. Let me go over here and take this down. I want to see what's up on the page here for the website. Okay. And go there. Go to the website, www.cassandra-llc.com. Sign up so that you can receive my very important newsletters. They come out just about every day. I barrage a lot of people, and there's so much going on. You can't just stop. You've got to respond to a lot of things because even though you have to think strategically and try to plan down the road for what the next step should be, you can't ignore the day-to-day tactics of things either, because if you do, you'll lose the ability to have any kind of strategic benefit later on. You have to stand up to things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. You can't just turn your back on them because somebody will slip a knife in between your ribs. So you really have to be careful and get engaged as much as you can. I mean, we have the stuff going on with Pete Hegseth and Doug Wilson and all of that, and his book, the newsletter I sent out this morning, it talked about his book, and the first line from that book. Let me see if I can pull it up over on this page. Hold on a minute. Let's go with WW. Pull it up. Go there. Go to the menu and pull that thing up. That title is from Doug Wilson's book. The title on this piece that I have here. Well, not that one. Didn't want to go there. I want to go to the blog post. Where's the blog? Blog. Oh, right there. Okay. Go over to the blog post, and read up on all of that and check it out. I don't know why that's not streaming over there. Anyway, so this title, as vulgar as it is a quote out of Doug Wilson's 2005 book, where he says, and I'm going to say it out loud, if there's any kids here, you need to go run, plug your ears, go away, leave now. Man penetrates, conquers, colonizes, and plants. A woman receives, surrenders, and accepts. That's the theology. That's not even a theology. That's the Rapist Manifesto. That's what that is. And he actually mentions rape down through here in that book as being something men will do if women don't submit to them and let them produce a baby. I don't know what the heck this guy's on, but he's definitely not on the Bible. He's not on that. He's just all about, mansplaining and all of that kind of crap. This guy he's crazy, and we've got to stop him. And let me see if I can pull this thing up. I'm going to share the screen over here, and you can see what I'm looking at so that you can actually see it. You can go over on the website and go to the blogs, and it's the very first one there right now. So let me share screen. Window here. Share. All right. So that quote on the top of that, a man penetrates, conquers, colonizes, plants, and a woman receives, surrenders. That's from his book. He's not once turned his back on that or said that he doesn't believe that. He still supports that. Hegseth has not turned his back on it and denied it or refused it or said that's not who he is. This is Hegseth too. He started going to that church in 2018 down in Tennessee. Found someone down there to marry, after he had been sleeping around with everybody else. So he went to a church that actually kind of whitewashes, literally, those kind of sins. It fits right in with Trump and Hegseth and a lot of other men there in D.C., particularly the ones associated with this administration. The next quote down, put a section of them right here. Quotes from Doug Wilson's 2005. Let me see if I can make that larger for you. Maybe you can see it better. How's that? Okay. 2005 book entitled Fidelity, What It Means to Be a Christian Man. And no, he should have left the word Christian out. He should have just put in there a vile, baseless man. Because that's what this is. The sexual act cannot be made into an egalitarian pleasuring party. And he actually said something like that in the CNN interview just the other day, that women are nothing more than just a vessel to produce babies and take care of the house. And I'm railing on this constantly because he's got his hands in our government, folks. Pete Hegseth and Servino, whoever that is. I think his last name's Servino, something like that. These people are Christian nationalists. Well, not even Christian nationalists. They're more like Christian dominionists. And I can actually apply the term religious dominionist because there are other religions with nationalism and dominionism as being their modus operandi, such as the Shia theology in Iran. That is a Shia theocracy or a Shia nationalism, or another way to put it, Khomeiniism. That's what that is in Iran. Completely different ideological base, but the results and the methods are the same. They don't want women to be seen, and that goes for any of the LGBT people. If they don't kill you or put you in a sanitarium somewhere, that's what they're trying to do. And you say that I'm just being hyperbolic. No, they actually are studying opening these things back up. They're starting with homeless people because, just the bros are all just so upset because there's homeless people in their communities, not willing to do anything about it actually to help them. But, you got to get them out of sight, though. So they're thinking of opening up all these sanitariums or putting them in jail. That applies. That's the test step. That's the first step in that direction of putting away people they don't want to see. Another nation tried or did that same thing almost 100 years ago. Well, about 90 years ago, in the 30s. Nazi Germany under Uncle Addy, Adolf Hitler. They did the same thing. They started out with, the undesirables in the community. They locked them up. They created a place for them, the homeless and all that kind of stuff, the people who had mental health issues and disabilities and things like that. They rounded those up and got them out of the way because they didn't want the world to know that there were those kind of people in their country. And that's what Trump is doing in D.C. Even though I know that the homeless people need to be helped, there's another way to go about it. There's a better way to go about it. There sure is. And then the other thing that is kind of correlating with the 1930s, this absolute focus on dealing with crime, which is no big, I agree with dealing with crime completely. I'm completely for that. But that's not where Trump plans to stop. How do you know? Well, last night, Pam Bondi issued a directive to the city of Washington saying they were going to replace, or they're going to put in their own police commissioner over the Metro Police Department, and issued some directives about no sanctuary stuff or anything like that. And then immediately after that, the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. and the mayor took them to court. But see, that's what Trump does. He's pushing this stuff out there. He just keeps pushing it. He wants to be able to put the military wherever he wants it in this country, forever how long he wants it. And here's the problem. If he gets away with it, if he does that, if the Supreme Court, when it finally works its way up there to them, which will happen pretty quickly probably, whenever they rule on this, and if they allow him to do these things, then the next president, regardless of their political ideology, will have that as one of the tools they can use. We'll never be able to back up and correct that, because then the political power will rest in the hands of the person with the 600 National Guard soldiers or whatever. It'll be more than that by then, and the ICE agents around doing whatever the president wants. I agree that there needs to be greater immigration control. We don't need people coming across the border, and it's been virtually stopped now, at least on the southern border. I don't know about the northern border, but I agree those things need to be addressed. They've needed to be addressed for more than 100 years, probably 150 or 200 years. We never did address it before that. We never thought we needed to. But we always put it off. In the 1800s, 1890s, the Chinese people, and in the 1930s, shoved out 1 million Latinos back across the border, just because we were having our own problems trying to feed our own people. Yeah, that's part of it. That's what happened in the 30s. But then you got people like Doug Wilson and Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance, who is Opus Dei, which is the militant branch of the Catholic Church, of Catholicism. And then you've got Kevin Roberts, president of the Heritage Foundation, also in this same vein of people, president of a Catholic church. I don't know that he's Opus Dei. I don't know for sure about that, but I do know that he wants to impose his will upon the whole of government, making Wilson's kind of thinking something by which the whole country must abide by, no matter who's elected. Like Iran, only Christians, at least with the flag of a Christian. Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff going on, and let me read some more of these things down through here that Wilson said, because this is just crazy, folks. I'd already told you about a man penetrates, conquers, colonizes, and plants. A woman receives, surrenders, and accepts. Men dream of being rapists, deprived of the erotic necessity found in women's submission. That man is sick. Who in their right mind would want that man anywhere close to anything to do with our government, much less anything to do with women and children? There is no freaking way. My gosh, come on, folks. That's from his 2005 book, Fidelity, What It Means to Be a Christian Man. Got it? Yep. Male Conquest and Female Surrender. You can read this thing. Go over on the blog site, on the website, and read it right there. Get that link that's on the image right now. You can go over and read this thing. Victim blaming, erotic necessity, broader view of patriarchy, theology regarding LGBTQ plus people. And that is not just condemnation, but if they could kill them, they would. We've got those elements already out there in this place, in this type of religious interpretation out of the 45,000 different religious interpretations there are for Christianity around the world that have been recognized. But, this man's taking it to the next level. This is next level nationalism. This is dominionism. Rejection of same-sex marriage and transgender identity. And the thing is, they've never read the Bible. The only one of these things that Jesus ever spoke about, he never talked about same-sex marriage. But he did talk about eunuchs. Some were born that way, and some were made that way by men or themselves. And he who can understand this, let him understand it. That's what Jesus said in Matthew 19. That's the only one he ever talked about. And then it was just in reverence and respect. And then who did Philip in Acts chapter 8 go see? Not that I put much faith in anything that Paul wrote, because he never paid much attention to the rest of the stuff that Jesus said. But he was talking about Philip, a godly man who was sent out into the desert to go meet who? Oh, the eunuch from Ethiopia, the queen's eunuch from Ethiopia. It doesn't say whether or not the eunuch was made that way, born that way, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you know what Philip did? I can tell you what he did not do. He did not go out there and tell that man he needed to be put into a sanitarium. He did not go out there and say, I refuse to talk to you or call you by whatever name that you want to be called. He didn't go out there and be mean to this person. He did not do that. He was a decent human being to this eunuch from Ethiopia. Makes me ask the question, why can't we do that with religious faiths today? Just live and let live. Yes, Paul did tell this eunuch about the message of Jesus. That was his goal, so that it would get back to Ethiopia. So that happened. And then Philip let it go and headed right on back to his city, having accomplished the mission he was sent out to do. And he never once threw a stone at that man, or that eunuch, I mean. Nope. He was good to him, respected him, let him do his thing. Why can't we do that? But this man over here, on your screen, oh my gosh, he doesn't respect anything that Jesus did. If you believe that, he doesn't respect any of it. And for this nation to have people like this with their hands on the government, it is disgusting. And I'll say it again and again and again and again. In the very first treaty the United States ever signed, which was with the Barbary pirates, who happened to be Muslim, they were going around and raiding ships of Christian nations, capturing all the product that was on board, whatever resources were on board, enslaving the people who were on board or killing them. So we decided to make a treaty with them. And that treaty explicitly states that the United States is not a Christian nation. A lot of people on the right will tell you that's just a one-off thing. That was just for that situation. Really? Is that where we started lying to the world about everything that we really are? I don't know. But I can tell you this, in that treaty, that's what it says. And many states in the early 1800s, all the way up to the middle of the 1800s, really, actually had clauses and things in their constitutions or statutes that said no preacher shall be an executive of the state. Separation of church and state. But now they want you to think that you ought to have it all tied together. We know where that's headed. It's going to turn into something like Khomeini over there, over Iran, or the Sunnis who actually run Saudi Arabia and Qatar or Qatar. We've got all this stuff going on to think about, folks. And it is Friday evening, and I'm hoping that we're having a good report coming out of Alaska. It is now 30 minutes into this show where I've talked my head off, and actually, I don't know if I said anything anybody was listening to. There are days when I feel like that Greek mythology Cassandra, the prophetess Cassandra, shoved into a cave because she was prophesying on all kinds of stuff, telling people what was going to happen, and nobody believed her, so they put her in a cave where she could talk to herself. Sometimes it feels like that. I'm not saying I know anything by any stretch of the imagination. This is all commentary on my part. You can take it or leave it however you wish. Have a good evening, everybody. Hey, Jamie, let me just say thank you for watching in. Do you want to say anything? Yes or no? Let me bring you up. Hold on a minute.
I was just, gonna say hi. I was a little bit curious, I guess, about your pictures in the background. I see your picture that you got by the two people by the car.
Yeah.
Who is that?
That is my grandfather and grandmother. That picture was taken in 1928, probably right around there, right when they were either dating or got married. They were proud of that car.
I'll bet they were. I mean, I've got lots of old photos too. I mean, I'm kind of fascinated by, doing the family tree search. So I just noticed that back there. I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's my grandfather and grandmother. My grandmother, Eva Blevins Williamson. Eva had my dad and his sister. Then she died in 1932, giving birth to a third child. And I had never heard anything at all about a third child because the child was aborted.
Yeah.
And she died as a result of diabetes brought on by that abortion, according to her death certificate. So I didn't know that there was another child that was a sibling of my dad and my aunt, direct, not a stepchild, but direct. So you learn a lot.
I like I said, I just kind of found it fascinating. I just kind of seen it off there in the corner. I've got some, interesting history too. My grandpa's brother, he was 18 years old. He got meningitis, and I guess he had to have a blood transfusion, and they gave him the wrong blood type, and it killed him. He was only 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
Back in I think it was 1920, he was 18 years old.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, I mean, it's, a lot of, I'll tell you, he was a big guy. He was standing next to my grandpa, and I mean, he was probably a foot taller than he was, and I'll bet his feet were twice as big as his were.
Had to be directly related to one of those generals.
Maybe. I don't know. It's the little guys there that carry the big stick or that you got to worry about.
That's right. That's always the case. That's just so true. That is so true. Oh gosh. Well, it's family history stuff's really interesting, I think, and I've been studying my family history since 1977.
There's quite a few Mayflower, ties that I have found in my family too. So.
Oh wow, wow. So, do you have anybody in Salem that went?
I would have to sit and look at it. I mean, I've got the names, but what I did there was I had descendants there, and I kind of built my way back, to the actual Mayflower list. I think that I've located at least 4 people, off of that list.
Oh wow!
On my family tree, I've got like over 101,000 people on there. They're not quite all, directly related. I've done a lot of investigating there in the town that I grew up in. A lot of the people there that I can
Uh-huh.
tie to my family. They may not be relation, but I can find a way that they are related to people in my family.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like you have a totem pole family tree too back there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat though. I mean, I grew up with quite a few Adamses, like in the town that I grew up in, and I knew that somewhere along the line we must all be related. Some of them
Hmm.
are like ninth cousins, but I
Right.
can take their tree and I can go way back and hook up to figure out that that's about how closely related we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do all that on like Ancestry or just do it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I
That's
mean,
good.
you go on there, you see DNA matches, you find them. A lot of times I'll go on Facebook to find them, and I'll
Hmm.
kind of share. I'll ask them to share their family tree, and I'll share mine, and we can kind of get each other's information
Hmm.
because on there you can't see people that are living on there. It'll just say private. But if
Right.
they
Right.
share it with you, you can put it on there, and even though you put it on there, unless you share your tree with somebody else, they can't see it either. So
Right. Yeah.
remains,
Exactly.
really confidential to the two people.
So have you done the DNA stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think that there's about 90,000 matches that I've got so far.
Yeah. You would think that the Adams family would have, not the double D Adams family, but the
Yeah.
Adams family. The Adams family would have an association, maybe, or connections, Samuel Adams and all that bunch.
I mean, I can see, that the presidents, are related, but they're, like I said, they're not nearly as closely related there as like John Hart. John Hart is my sixth great grandfather, so I consider that to be a lot closer than any of the President Adamses.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Well, it's always fun to read that and study that because then you start connecting your family to historical events, and
Well, history means more if you have a few heroes in your family.
it does, doesn't it? It really does.
Gives you something to brag about.
Yeah, or infamous heroes.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I mean, all the war dead, they're topping the list, and I try to get as many photos of them in uniform and everything I can do to, I guess, to really honor them.
yeah. Well, that's great. Now, I did see what you were doing there in your town where
Yeah.
you'd help do that monument and all. That
Yeah.
was really nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. Well, let's call it even.
I would like to make one last comment. I mean, right now I'm in the running for city council, and
Yeah.
it's going to get probably a little bit nasty, with people making comments. I got somebody there that didn't like what I was, I guess, proposing, but she said that's just another reason why I won't vote for you, and I put on there, elaborate. I said, I'm all ears. I want to hear it.
Uh huh.
I because I will ram that back at them. I said,
Oh,
well,
of
I
course.
did this, I did that, I did that. What the hell did you do?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
you don't like what I'm doing, but I'm more productive to this town than you are. What are you doing?
Right. Right. That's good.
I
Yep.
may lose the election, but that won't stop me from being active in the city.
Right.
I've always told my mother. I said I want to make it so that when my obituary comes up, everybody recognizes my name. They may love me, they may hate me, but
Right.
when it comes up, that somebody will recognize my name in the obituary.
Yeah. 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 They'll say Jamie Adams.
No, that's right.
J. Let's see, a cousin, distant cousin to all kinds of people, and directly related to a lot of really good people.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But like I said, I think that I did three things that I consider pretty important in the town. Taking
Yeah.
care of the monument. I actually just passed around the petition here in the county. You couldn't buy beer and wine in the bars. You couldn't buy it in the store. I passed around the petition to put it on the ballot for at the vote. So that was allowed.
Hmm.
You know, and like I said, I did the drainage thing here in the subdivision. Got that so that the county is responsible for all the drainage. In the whole subdivision.
Huh, that's great. Jeez.
I stood up, and I did things. Like I said, I'm looking out for the welfare of the city. The
Yeah.
issue that I had right now is, we got some about just short of 11 acres of property that's been sitting here for the 32 years that I've lived here. I'd like to see it slowly developed into a park so that the city doesn't eventually sell it off for residential or industrial or whatever.
Right.
You got people saying, well, we got enough other parks around the town or whatever like that. Or we don't want it because it's near where we live. We want to have it nice and quiet. Well, if we can't develop it, it's going to get sold. And if we can't enjoy it, we might as well
Right.
sell it now and use it for tax revenue. I
Right.
don't like
Right.
people to be selfish, that think that they're happy, that everybody else should be happy. I'm paying taxes. What am I getting out of it? What is everybody else in my neighborhood getting out of it?
Right. Right.
So, like I said, a few people are rocking the boat because they don't like the fact that I brought it up.
Right. Right. Well, you know who Danica Ram is? You know Danica Ram?
I've heard the name, but I don't know. I guess.
She is a trans woman, very out. She was in Virginia and the Northern Virginia district. She ran for state legislature and won 2 or 3 times, and then ran for the state of Virginia Senate and won. But her goal, she has always just focused on the needs of the community. At the time when she started, there was a road going through there that needed repairs,
Yeah.
and everyone knew that. But every time they would try to distract away from that, her opponent, and try to bring up the fact that she was trans or something like that, she made sure that it focused back on the road problem and the
Right.
community problems, and not even bothering with anything else because none of it really mattered. It was just solving a problem the community needs solving, and that's what she did, and that's how she got elected.
Well,
So
like I said, that's how I will respond to it because it's like what I did. I don't care if I don't care, if you're a prostitute. I don't care if you're a drug addict. If it ain't bothering me, I don't care.
hmm
I'm telling you that I want to do the good. I had another guy there that was kind of suggested in there that maybe, that because I was pushing it, maybe I was taking some bribes. I don't even think that the guy, actually lived here in the city. And I said, that's highly insult. I said, you don't even know me. I said that I would be a council member for nothing. I see that as serving the community. I didn't get rich being a sailor in the Navy,
right,
So
right,
basically I put all this stuff out there. What did you do?
right,
I mean, if these people want to, run me down and think that I'm corrupt or whatever, put up
hmm
or shut up.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people where you are, what city you're in?
Yeah, I'm in Coopersville.
Coopersville, Michigan.
Yep. Yep. Del Shannon, the singer, that was his hometown.
Del Shannon. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's
That old runaway, run, 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 run away.
oh, that person.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Follow the sun. I go to pieces. That um, Peter and Gordon sang. That was his song.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Little Tom Flirt. I mean, yeah, he was famous. I mean, but and Tom Petty was helping him, and George Harrison was helping him. And I mean, he was climbing up the charts for some reason. Though he was badly depressed, and he took his own life back in 1990, I think it was.
Oh wow.
He would come back to town here in the summertime, do free concerts at the high school and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And a few years ago, when Jeff Lynne, from ELO was here, he actually came to the museum. He didn't tell anybody, but he actually went through there and looked at the museum too. There's a lot of exhibits there that the family donated to the museum here in town.
Oh okay. Wow. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
good. Well,
Yep.
let's call it a day. How's that? Let's call it a
Yep.
weekend. Here we go.
You
Y'all,
betcha. Yep. Have a good
y'all
day.
have a great weekend. Thanks,
Yep.
Jamie. Appreciate you. Anyone else over here in the chat box? Let me see. Jamie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know Jesus either. It certainly doesn't know the red letters. All right, bye. Everyone have a great weekend.